Hi, and welcome to Epic Family Podcast. This short video is a tutorial on how to prepare the setup for the podcast. As you can see, first we started setting up the microphones and the audio interface, connecting it to a laptop with a headphone to monitor the audio during the recording, setting up the laptops and our seating, and the script, of course. In the podcast, we talked about different types of microphones, low and high budget ones. The most popular low budget option is Blue Yeti or Samson Q2U, while a high budget option is Shure SM7P. In our podcast, we used Rode Studio microphone with Focusrite Scarlett audio interface, which is also one of the popular low budget options compared to Behringer X32, which is a high budget one. Then we made a small test to check the audio levels. Then we made a small recording to see how our voices are captured or being recorded to monitor further the audio levels. Then we started recording, making sure that the environment is as silent as possible to avoid interruptions and audio distortions. Then we prepared the script with a little bit of improvising to make the podcast more vivid and more natural. Even if that we made a mistake, we would repeat again the same phrase from the beginning. We spoke also in the podcast about making a research to write a well-prepared and tailored script to our audiences, which we also did. We asked experts who had experience in these topics and also experience in making a podcast, as well as using Google Analytics and social media analytics like Facebook Insights and Instagram Insights. There are many websites that could also tell you which hashtags are popular on certain topics, like best-hashtags.com. Also, as you can see, our posture is important. The positioning of the microphone in the middle is also important to avoid having someone's voice low or not as clear. After concluding our recording, then we took the audio that we recorded to the software, which in that case is GarageBand. As we mentioned in the podcast, GarageBand is a free software that is only available on macOS devices, as well as an iPhone or an iPad. Along with GarageBand, there are three more softwares that are really popular. Audacity, which is a free software for Windows, then Adobe Audition with a paid subscription, both for Windows and macOS users, and Logic Pro, which is paid, and it looks like a pro version of GarageBand. And it's only available for macOS users. GarageBand and Audacity are different softwares for working with audio. GarageBand helps you record and produce audio or music with many tools and effects. It's great for making polished tracks. On the other hand, Audacity is simpler and good for quickly trying out new ideas and doing basic audio editing. Adobe Audition is a program for editing and mixing audio. It's great for tasks like recording and fixing audio, and many podcasters, sound engineers, and designers use it. Logic Pro is software made for musicians and composers. It has lots of virtual instruments, tools for making music, and works well with Apple products. People like it because it's easy to use. Working with GarageBand is very simple because it's really user-friendly. Maybe at the beginning it's better to watch a couple of videos on YouTube to see how the software works. But in general, this software is very basic and it's very user-friendly. Editing the audio that we recorded. First, I made separate channels for each host, also for the music and for the intro or the jingles. In that way, it will be easier to adjust each channel on its own according to each host's voice. Adjusting the equalizer level and the volume. This step should be done later after you start cutting the audio into separate parts and organizing, rearranging the audio, cutting the silent parts, cutting the mistakes, and cutting unnecessary parts. Then, after organizing the whole episode, you can start adjusting the levels, the equalizer, and adding effects. A software like GarageBand comes with already installed plugins, and it's sufficient for adjusting the audio to be more clear. You don't have to have an experience in editing or adjust the audio levels or the equalizer. But you could try to watch a video about how to enhance the audio using the equalizer. Or you could just use your ears by listening to the audio while adjusting the levels until you reach a level of an audio that you find satisfying. There are some advanced plugins such as noise removal, which is used in the case where your recording has lots of noise around. This plugin helps to reduce or remove totally these noises. But in most of the cases, if the space that you're recording the podcast in is silent enough, you will not need that plugin. After organizing and editing your audio, applying effects and plugins, the final step is to export your file. Choose to export the file in two of these formats, MP3 or WAV, as these are the most common formats and are being used widely in all of the platforms. There are three popular platforms that we talked about: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify for podcasters. Google Podcasters is made by Google and lets podcasters submit their shows. It works on Android devices and other platforms. It's easy to submit your podcast, and you can see basic states about how it's going. Apple Podcasts is a well-known platform that comes on Apple devices. It has lots of listeners, so your show can reach a wide audience. Apple Podcasts gives you a detailed stats about your listeners and offers way to promote your podcast. Spotify is a big music streaming platform that's also popular for podcasts. You can submit your show to Spotify and reach their large audience. Spotify gives you lots of data about your listeners, like how much they listen and who they are. They also have special features to promote your podcast. Deciding which platform to use depends on who you want to reach and what you want to achieve as a podcaster. Many podcasters use multiple platforms to reach more listeners. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two. Remember, there are always more tutorials available on the internet to learn more about the editing softwares. Good luck and happy podcasting. Epic Family Podcast is a project funded by Erasmus Plus and Movidia.